Although the MLB is still in the early stages of the season, keep in mind we have 162 games in a year. It still is a big factor when it comes to injuries. There have been many injuries that have plagued the Major League Baseball so far this season, and we're not even a month into baseball. And it is a big discussion everywhere right now. It is changing a lot of the dynamics when it comes to Major League Baseball and its sport. And also, we have the Masters starting. This is the granddaddy of them all for golf, if you would like to say. This is where everyone wants to tune in because of the rich history there, the green jacket. And we are going to go over everything Masters related. And we are winding down to the NBA playoffs. It is coming, it is approaching fast. The final seedings have yet to take place. So we're going to talk about just how we see how things are going to play out. I'm your host, Matthew Raridan, and this is Total Sports Talk Beyond the Lights. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Total Sports Talk Beyond the Lights. And yes, if you did not hear in the intro, injuries are plaguing the Major League Baseball right now. Injuries are always a part of the game in any sport you play. Sport is physical or it's straining. You are using many different muscles when it comes to sports. But right now in Major League Baseball, we have an issue. We have an injury issue that seems to be happening almost every other week now. We're seeing a star player go down or just a player in general, and the majority of them are pitchers. I'm going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. But first, I want to go ahead and introduce both of my co hosts here today. First, we've got David Street.
What's up, y'all?
And secondly, we've got Ed Smith.
Welcome, y'all.
And yes, just like I said, guys, injuries, they are plaguing so far this early baseball season. And I'm gonna name off these players, just a couple of them, star players, I might add, their injuries, and go more in depth a little bit more about what could be causing these injuries. First, we've got Spencer Strider from the Atlanta Braves. He has really cemented himself as a really consistent go-to pitcher for the Braves and in the MLB so far this year. His UCL, it's his season's going to most likely be over. Um, UCL injuries are a big part of what's happening with injuries left and right in the majors now. Trevor Story with a fractured shoulder. He's having season-ending surgery right now. It just seems like ever since he left Colorado, he hasn't really been able to get things going. Framber Valdez with the Houston Astros, elbow inflammation. Here we go. You're going to start seeing a trend here. Elbows, pitchers. Garrett Cole, Yankees, elbow. He's going to be out for a while too to start the season. Justin Verlander with the Astros in his shoulder. And lastly, Josh Jung of the Rangers with a broken wrist. And yes, if you saw there, heard, you're seeing a lot of elbow injuries in baseball. Yes, Tommy John is a real thing. It happens quite frequently in Major League Baseball. We saw Shohei Ohtani have surgery for it. He could still hit, he cannot throw. It's just very common, unfortunately, now. But we're wondering why. I mean, you guys have asked that same question as well. Why
Mhm.
are these guys getting injured left and right?
Well, I don't want to jump the gun too much because I know we're going to talk about it in just in just a few minutes. But especially with regards to all these pitching injuries, this feels like a situation that could have been completely avoided.
I think
Yeah. If that doesn't make sense, I'll explain why later. But for now, I'll just say that like this situation feels like it could have been avoided altogether.
There's so many factors involved in this. I know it is common for a lot of people to want to boil everything down to a single thing that creates the issue, but there's a lot of factors involved, and we'll probably go through several of them here in just a minute.
yeah, absolutely. But on my list, you might have noticed that yes, pitchers are the predominant ones that are getting injured right now. And when we talk about this more in depth, you're going to see kind of like our evidence and their evidence as to why that's happening. Pitchers are, yeah, actually in the majors, it's pretty well split between position players and pitchers as far as who's the highest paid. Pitchers do get paid really, really great money, but they feel like they're also almost like the enemy, like the MLB's against them, especially with a lot of these rules that have been implemented, a lot of these changes, and the players union isn't too happy about it, but they also have probably the worst player rep there is, and I see a change kind of imminent in our future. But I want to start with the first rule that is being floated around right now as to why these injuries are happening for the pitcher side, and that is the pitch clock. As we all know, Major League Baseball wanted to speed games up. They wanted to make them faster. Baseball was just too far, it was stretched out. It was too long, viewership. Well, what can we do to make it better, faster? Well, let's put the pitch clock in here. It kind of goes both ways as far as in the batter with the batters in the batter's box, but it mainly was because of the pitchers, and that is their first reason as to why they think they are getting hurt more frequently is the pitch clock. They're having to speed things up. Uh, they aren't giving themselves kind of that rest a little bit in between pitches that they're used to doing, that they did most of their careers before this rule was implemented. Have
Mhm.
guys, I mean, seen this since the pitch clock has been instituted? Have you seen pitchers kind of take a dip a little bit in their
Well, and
performance?
that and that's exactly what I was talking about when I said this feels like a situation that could have been avoided completely. I understand the need to to speed the game up, but even so, this just felt completely unnecessary. And I think it's a it's definitely easy to see why the pitch clock is causing more injuries because, and I acknowledge this might not be the best comparison, but just kind of bear with me. Do you guys ever have those moments when you're sleeping and you wake up in the middle of the night and you kind of feel like your arm in an awkward position and you're trying to like get in the right position, but as you do it, you kind of feel it like hyperextend and you feel like you've popped something and you're like, oh, or is that just me?
That's
Is
Uh,
just
that
you, David.
yeah.
and
I get that checked.
the the point I'm trying to make here is that if you're, or I guess in this case me, if my arm hurts like that after I'm not even doing anything to exert it, I'm not like putting any strain on it, right? Now imagine how it feels as a pitcher when you're doing that, constantly. I mean, heck, even when you're just stretching your arm out like this, you are putting strain on it. Like you definitely feel some physical stress there, right? Now imagine doing that more, doing that faster because of this pitch clock. If that did not make any sense, just let me know. But nobody ever accused me of being a science guy or whatever you want to call that.
Well, David, I'm actually on the complete opposite end of the spectrum here uh, from you on this because I think it's more of a matter of the MLB has really put a premium on max effort on every single thing right now. So the max effort that these pitchers are putting on their shoulders, on their elbows, with every pitch going in, trying to throw 100-mile-an-hour sliders, that is a problem. Now, I don't think the pitch clock really has much at all to do with this because if you're really trying to get the pitchers to rest between pitches, how long is that going to take, really? Right now, you're at 20 seconds between each pitch. Do you need like a full minute between each pitch to make sure that the arm is back in its proper alignment to go do max effort pitch again, I mean, how long would the games be at that point? How many fans would MLB lose that they have gained over the past year if that were the case? So the pitch clock, while if it is an issue, it's very minute. It is asinine to me to think that the MLBPA is blaming all of this on just the one thing being the pitch clock. There are so many other factors involved that they have not talked to MLB executive, MLB commissioner to that office to make adjustments across the board. Instead of just saying that it's one thing, look at all these other factors that are involved.
Yeah, you have the pitchers that are saying, "Well, this is the MLB against us. This is they're implementing this pitch clock," but David, actually to further kind of your point on, well, some of this can be uh, you know, it could be missed is more so that these pitchers, a report just came out actually before we came on this show. John Heyman, he said that higher velocity is actually really hurting these pitchers more. Yes, we would love to throw like Chapman and throw 105 miles an hour, but they're also putting more velocity, like Ed said, on a slider, on a sinker, anything like that, and it is really affecting the pitchers. So they are doing it to themselves. This could be avoided, but they are wanting to be, better than the next guy, and it's really affecting them a lot, young and old. It doesn't matter. It's everyone's trying to increase their velocity, their reach back velocity, to make their pitches faster. Because if you look at it now versus what it used to be, I don't think you're going to find a single pitcher that's throwing under 95 nowadays. Before 95 was fast, and you had pitchers that were throwing, 90, 91 was the fastball. Now you're not going to find anyone throwing less than that.
Who
And
was
the
that?
best example that I can give you on that particular idea is one of the best baseball movies ever is Major League. I think we can all agree on that part.
Yeah.
Well, when they're testing Rick Vaughn at spring training and the ball goes whizzing by and breaks the sign behind them, they're like, "How much?" It was 96. And that was considered like blazing fast at that time. And that movie was made in 88. Here we are, we had Aroldis Chapman throw 105 once. So that is total max effort every throw, which is putting so much pressure on the arms. And that is something that it's a much longer conversation that goes all the way down into Little League. But that was the example that immediately comes to mind with what you were saying, Matthew.
Do you guys remember that one pitcher from Tennessee's baseball team a few years ago, back when Tennessee won like 1,000 games, and
Ben
he was well
Joyce.
known for what was that?
Ben Joyce.
Ben Joyce. Is he in the majors or not?
He's in the Pirates organization, I think.
Okay.
So isn't that crazy that him and isn't Paul Skeens there in the Pirates
Yes.
organization?
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he's in there, but I could be wrong. But yeah, Ben Joyce. I mean, this guy was throwing heat, man.
Mhm. I mean,
And it,
he got all the SportsCenter highlights just because of his pitching speed.
yeah, it's just crazy how times have changed. I'm sure both of you remember the pitcher Barry Zito. Barry
Hmm.
Zito's fastball did not go above 89. That's just how Barry Zito was. But that guy had a killer 12-6 curveball, that was for sure. But
Yeah.
some pitchers just do not throw fast. But the times have changed where they are throwing faster. But there's more things that have changed rules wise in the majors, and one of them was enforced in 2016 with they changed the baseballs. And this, yes, you could feel like it was an attack on pitchers because they made the baseballs more to hit homers.
Mhm.
Yes, home runs garnish so much views in baseball, just like on Anchorman 2. I want to show all the home run clips. That's what people want to watch. And it is true. I mean, I love baseball though, so I actually love watching pitchers. I love watching strikeouts.
Mhm.
But I love it all. But MLB knew, well, we're going to get more views if more homers are happening. We want to see, these people hit 60 plus homers a year. So let's change the baseballs to make that happen. And yeah, it definitely did.
It definitely got more of your Joey Gallo types out there playing in right field, where it was all or nothing. Your
Dude,
Adam Dunns.
Joey Gallo is like probably the weirdest baseball player ever because like if you look at his stats, it always feels like he'll get like 30, 40, 45 home runs, but his batting average is absolute dog shit because it's like in the low 200s or 210s.
Yeah, it's all or nothing. And that's the way hitting has become. But that's what MLB wants because that's what they can sell on the clips that they are sending through social media. What did
Mhm.
we talk about just last night about the individual accolade is going to be great for a small clip to be shown on TV to advertise, but
Mhm.
it does not translate to the win column.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, MLB is a business, and they got to do, what attracts viewers
Yes.
to the
Yeah,
game.
and, MLB, just like, many other sports, including football, which has been very high on this word, is analytics, and it is, it has come into the majors, and, Ed, I want you to kinda talk us through this a little bit because one of your pitchers, Justin Verlander, is actually a big, uh, speaker when it comes to this topic, but analytics and when it comes to, pitching through the order.
Sure. And the analytics part really came into being with the when the Astros came into power. Now we can have that discussion about the whole trash can thing and all that good stuff. But there were tons of analytics being talked about with the rise of them from 2017, from 2014 up to that first championship against the Dodgers in 2017. That's tons of analytics, and every baseball club has adopted it. Much like the whole Moneyball thing
Mm.
that everybody just immediately grabbed a hold of and took hold of. Everybody's taken hold of this analytics thing. And what Matthew's specifically referring to is when a starting pitcher gets to the third time in the order, the advantage goes to the batters. So analytics are telling the managers to pull the starting pitchers way earlier than what they used to. And in doing so, I think they've done the pitchers a disservice because if they're not allowing the pitchers to gain any durability for the long term by being able to throw more than 60 pitches in an outing, and because it's it says on this chart here that such and such, if they have a runner, if they let somebody get on after they've gone through the lineup twice, well, they're looking for a reason to get them from the hook, get them
Well,
off the field.
and like this may not be exactly the same thing, Ed, but this kind of reminds me of this trend that the race. I don't know if the race started it, but they certainly made it popular. The idea of an opener, which is essentially when you actually start with your reliever rather than your normal starting pitchers.
There are bullpen games like in college, and that's essentially what that becomes, in my opinion, because there's no way that starting a pitcher to just pitch an inning and have 9 separate pitchers come in every inning, or even more than that, if one of them gets in halfway trouble, that is in my opinion, a ludicrous idea that should not be allowed. But here we are. It's in the rule book. They can throw anybody out there. It's one of those. Yeah, let me see if I can manipulate this to how my roster is looking and how my availability of pitchers are looking right now. There are some ideas that have been floated out there that we can talk about here in a minute, but overall, that third time through the order is what has a lot of starting pitchers upset that they are not allowed to finish their own stuff.
Yeah, really quick, another rule that I didn't plan on talking about, but as you just talked about it, and it brought to mind was one of the newest rules is a pitcher has to face three batters. You're like a relief pitcher before they
Mhm.
could be taken out or the inning is over because they're trying to reduce how the game because when you're making a pitching change it is extending the game. And that's another big thing because that's when analytics really are going to take over. And I saw that the other day. I watched the Yankees and Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays right now, they keep switching their relievers in the middle of the inning. I mean, they're bringing their so what they're doing is they're bringing their reliever from the last inning in. He gets an out, and then they're switching the pitcher. And apparently, it's a big analytic thing that's happening right now. But it's really messing with them. But as far as taking the pitchers out, this reminds me of a 2014 World Series. I am a Giants fan, and this is when Madison Bumgarner was Mr. Postseason, and he wanted to pitch. He would have pitched every game, and when you see someone like Madison Bumgarner, this is a man. This is someone. He's a big dude, North Carolina country boy hick. He would tell you that he'd feel comfortable pitching 180 pitches a game, and he was fine with that, and a lot of starting pitchers are okay with that because a lot of them have conditioned their bodies to do so, but then, yes, like Ed said, you're doing a disservice to them when you're taking them out with only 80 pitches or so, and they're still doing pretty darn good. Why? Because analytics said so. We're following analytics. You will see Brandon Staley lost his job because of analytics in football. Don't follow analytics all the time. It's going to cost you your job, Dave Roberts.
Might I add? Since you talk about Madison Bumgarner, I just want to say that as far as like pitching performances in the World Series, that was hands down by far the best pitching performance I've ever seen. Just across the entire series. I mean, Bumgarner was otherworldly that postseason, that World Series.
Yeah. His
When you
only
go back to the dynamic duo of Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling for the Diamondbacks,
yeah.
that was they didn't have any other pitchers that entire World Series. I don't think anybody else got on the mound, but that's an exaggeration, of course. But that is the exact point that David here is making: is if you have such great pitchers, then why aren't you not using them for their longest availability to do the
Mhm.
best work?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, Mariano Rivera held the record for the lowest ERA in the postseason up until Madison Bumgarner then got it in 2014 after his performances in the World Series in 2012 as well. He lowered his ERA to, and that's a starter pitcher we're talking about there. This isn't a reliever. This isn't a closer, which are notorious to have that lower ERA. And Mariano
Yeah, didn't
Rivera was an amazing pitcher.
wasn't Bumgarner's ERA in the 2014 World Series like .65? Like I don't remember the exact number, but I do remember that it was absurdly low.
Yeah, I mean, his only run that he gave up, if I remember correctly, was a solo shot to Salvador Perez. That was it.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it
Yeah.
just shows you that it was hard to score against when he was on the mound. That's just how it was, and they couldn't pick it up. I mean, that's just dominance right there. But besides that, another thing that I want to talk about really quick on one last thing as far as these rules, and it's the sticky tack that you saw. It was very viral, where MLB said we're done with this sticky tack stuff. We're gonna start, confiscating your gloves. We're gonna make sure you aren't trying to put pine tar or anything to help increase your grip, which is going to then help increase the spin ratio on the ball. And that really messed up a lot of pitchers. A lot of pitchers were using some type of form of that to help increase their balls, spin more. Now they're having to rely more on their natural spin, their flick of the wrist, and that is why we're seeing a lot more elbow injuries. Tommy John is usually injury that's caused by off-speed pitches. It's not based off of throwing fastballs and throwing your arm out. It's usually based off of off-speed pitches. Now you're having to put more work in for those pitches, and you're seeing more injuries. So, I mean, you think
So
that's a coincidence?
So then, and I'll ask this question to Ed. So then it seems like the point of this isn't necessarily isn't necessarily to gain a competitive advantage, although I'm sure that plays a small factor, but it's more so to avoid more injuries just based on the context Matthew gave. Am I in the ballpark here?
So removing the tack was just something that MLB decided to take away, and Tony Clark, the MLB PA representative, did not have the conversation with them before they did that. So now the pitchers are having to rely on their natural mechanics, not mechanics that were formed based upon having this extra little ability to use that tack to create the extra spin rate. So in doing so, they're trying to create extra spin rate through their natural mechanics, which is putting their mechanics completely out of whack, and it's causing so much more stress on the elbows and the shoulders, which is leading to more of these long-term soreness and inflammation injuries that we're seeing with the pitchers in the major leagues right now.
Yeah, and you're seeing a trend almost here of why pitchers are thinking they're so against them because, well, MLB implemented a baseball that will help the hitters. Well, why can't we do something that helps us pitchers?
Mhm.
And so you're almost seeing kind of at odds there. And yes, this was such an issue because umpires were checking these gloves. They're looking for anything because just to throw a baseball, you want the best grip. I'm not saying you have to have hair gel on your hand just to get that stickiness, but you want the
Oh, is that
best
where I'm
grip.
supposed to put hair gel?
That people were using it. Ask Trevor Bauer.
Now you know this don't look natural. Now you know this don't look natural.
But now it's, well, in the beginning of the game, I say in the beginning, but if you watch any games from the 90s, early 2000s, and you'll see it now because it now the rule, but you will see pitchers constantly, running their hand through their hair, getting the sweat, then going to the rosin bag because that combination gives them a little bit of stickiness. And actually, Garrett Cole, I'm pretty sure, actually got ejected from a game for that. He's
Yeah.
trying to tell him, look, this is just sweat and rosin right here. Of course, it's going to cause a grip, but that's perfectly fine. And that's what they tell him. It's fine, but they're still saying, oh, that looks a little too sticky, though, to me. And they're really clamping down on it. And pitchers are, they're not liking it. And yes, you are seeing them more and more hurt. And this is a reason why.
You know what? Why don't we just turn the entire MLB season into a 162 game home run derby at this point now?
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do, it seems like.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly
And,
what they're
and part of the whole let's make it easier for everybody to get home runs is there's not too many Ellie De La Cruzes running around out there, rounding the bases in under 15 seconds.
14 something seconds from home to home. I mean, that guy's a freak. I mean, in a good way. That guy
Oh, yeah.
can play base, but I love it. Him and O'Neal Cruz from the Pirates. We are seeing just these up and coming talents that are really changing baseball, but in a good way, just similar to how me and David will talk about Connor McDavid with hockey. I mean, this guy, Connor McDavid, came into the league. He's so fast and he just continues to be faster and faster and adapted so well to the league. Well, these guys are doing the same thing. They're bringing this new swag, which brings me to my next topic. And this was such a really big news in my opinion, but that's Jackson Holiday finally, I say finally, being called up to the majors. I say finally that he made it to the majors in probably one of the shortest fashions you'll ever hear. I mean, this is the number one pick in last year's draft, was with them in spring training, did amazing, was expected to make opening day roster, did not, and they decided to wait 2 weeks, and they're like, we're going to call you up because you're doing pretty damn good, and we expected that, but we want you up here. And this Baltimore Orioles team, guys, just look at their last 3 years. I'm gonna include this year, but you see it all started. You brought Adley Rutschman up. Guess what? Rookie of the year. Oh, next year we brought up Gunnar Henderson, Rookie of the year. And now we're bringing up Jackson Holiday. It's early on. It's his first game, but you see a trend that could be happening possibly another Rookie of the Year. And there's more implications to this than you think, but
I didn't realize the Orioles had back to back rookies of the year.
and hopefully here, I mean, possibly back to back to back, but by
Welcome to a trivia question.
yeah, because so when you bring up someone and they play, let's see here, it's weird how they have it, but it's considered a full season. I'm not talking about the 162 games, but they have a definition of a full season. And then also if they win Rookie of the Year, you then get qualified for an additional first round pick. And, that's big, and so, with Jackson Holiday bringing brought up right now, actually, he doesn't have to even win Rookie of the Year. If he plays the rest of the year on their roster, they are awarded with another first-round pick in next year's draft. And if he does win Rookie of the Year, then, yeah, you automatically get a first-round draft pick, an extra one for that. So, they're looking pretty darn good because they've won Rookie of the Year 2 years in a row now, but this one could be their 3rd, but makes you wonder, why was he even sent down to begin with?
I think this smells an awful like the whole Chris Bryant thing with the Cubs. So, for those that aren't aware of that, Chris Bryant, when he was coming up through the Cubs organization at spring training, they were telling him that he is going to be the everyday MLB player. But they sent him down to the minors so they did not have to pay the roster bonus for Chris Bryant to be on the opening day roster, which would have enacted. I forget what the total was. I want to say it was like an extra $2 or $5 million bonus to Chris Bryant for him being on the opening day roster. So sending him down to the minors for a week, mind you, and then bringing him back to the majors, they were able to kind of loop themselves out of having to pay that additional bonus.
Yeah, and this is, if you did not know, he is the son of Matt Holliday, who is also a great baseball player. And what is he going to provide coming up to the Orioles? Well, he's going to be playing second base because Gunnar Henderson, the defending Rookie of the Year, is shortstop. But here's something that was really cool was Cal Ripken Jr. allowed uh, Jackson Holiday to wear number 7 because that was his dad's number. And that is really amazing considering Cal Ripken Jr. and his legacy with Baltimore to allow that. So they've got something
So
special there.
so 7 was Matt's number, or that was
Matt
Cal
Hol-
Cal
Matt
Ripken's?
Matt
Okay,
That's Cal
Holiday,
Ripken
but
Sr.'s
Cal
number,
Ripken Sr. Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Yep.
and that'll be Matt Holiday's. I
Or
mean,
Jackson Holiday. Yep.
Jackson Holiday's number.
Yep. So
Mhm.
this was really cool just to kind of have that blessing from Cal Ripken Jr. to so you could rep dad's number. So
Definitely. And
really cool.
yeah, but and also I think, you know, when you look at the numbers, I think one thing that Jackson Holiday brings to the Orioles right now that they need, and I'm going to explain why later, is that the kid knows how to hit. I mean, just in spring training, he had a 311 batting average, a 600 slugging percentage, and 14 hits in 15 games of spring training. Now, I'm going to read off some offensive numbers here for the Orioles, and they're kind of interesting. So right now, the Orioles are 27th in hits, but they're 12th in runs, right? 18th in batting average, 15th in slugging percentage. So all in all, like not terrible offensive numbers, but not great, just average. And to me, bringing up Jackson Holiday just kind of it just kind of seems like they're doing it to kind of reignite their offense some. Now it is still early, and I did say before that I think the Orioles are by far the best team in the AL East, and I still stand by that. I think they're just doing this to add some juice to reignite their offense some.
I mean, they've already been a fun team to watch, but this is just going to make it even more enjoyable. That middle infield with Gunner and Jackson is it's just going to be fun to watch. I mean, you're watching two young talent. Jackson Holiday is only 20 years old. He was the first overall pick, and then here he is already in the MLB, 20 years
Mhm.
old, um, and he just has that swagger that shows you that he belongs to be in the big leagues.
I,
And yeah.
I do want to push back just a little bit, Matthew, when you talk about Jackson Holiday winning AL Rookie of the Year. Did Wyatt Langford retire already?
Okay, but
Touche, touche.
yeah, touche, touche, but
I'm
it's still
I am
very
totally not
early.
being biased there at all
Yeah.
because he doesn't play for the Rays. All I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. But there's also some other people that have been called up, Ed can chime in especially on this one, but, is it Spencer Arrighetti? Is that how you
Yes.
pronounce it?
Spencer Arrighetti has just been brought up to replace Framber Valdez on the 68-day IR. This will be his introduction into the major leagues after being a 2021 sixth round pick. He was considered the number 3 prospect in the Astros organization. The other two guys in front of him just weren't quite ready yet. So this is actually the second time in a week that the Astros have had a MLB debut from their organization being called up to replace Framber Valdez's place in the rotation. So we're getting some young blood, and we're going to be getting some old blood back here soon because the rehab starts by Verlander have been going very well as also. So we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to getting back on track as far as our pitching is concerned, especially starting pitching because the bullpen needs some help right now.
Well, you may hear, oh, number 3 in the organization, but I just want to add that this is the Houston Astros organization we're talking about. You look at the people they've developed and brought up within their farm system, Altuve, Bregman, Kyle Tucker,
Jordan.
Jordan Alvarez. I mean, the list goes on. They know how to develop players. So just because he's the number 3 in the organization means squat because they continue to show that they know how to bring guys up. So it's almost like you have to really trust what they're doing. So I'll be happy to see how this guy does in the majors. And this is his chance right here because when one guy goes out, you have to step in. So that's exactly what he's doing.
And like we've talked about with all these injuries that are happening in Major League Baseball at this point, it's next man up mentality. You've really got to take advantage of your opportunities, especially for those that are at the lower levels. Just be ready. Always be ready.
Yes. And speaking of that next man up mentality, well, guys, it is the Masters where the next man up, who's it going to be? Who's going to be the guy to get the green jacket this year? And is there a chance it's going to be the same guy as last year? We have not seen a back-to-back winner since Tiger Woods in '01 and '02, and John Rahm is looking to be that guy. John Rahm being the future number 1 golfer in the world, who is still an amazing golfer. Although he switched over to the Live Golf Tour, he's still John Rahm at the end of the day. And this is going to be very interesting because, guys, this field is just so loaded, so stacked, and and if Tiger in 2019 didn't show anything, it's anyone can win. Phil Mickelson can win, Fred Couples, it's anyone can win right now. It's so unpredictable, but you have to wonder, is this Scotty Scheffler's tournament to lose?
Right now, he's sitting with the best odds across the board because he has been absolutely on fire since I would say 6 weeks. He's had 2 wins and a second place ever since he changed the putter that he had been using. Up to this point in his career, he had been using a blade putter. he changed over to the mallet putter on Rory McIlroy's uh, recommendation, and it has just made a world of difference because that is the one part of his game that was a little suspect to start the year. But ever since he picked up that mallet, it's been lights out for everybody else around him. Everybody's looking up, everybody's trying to keep up, and he's just been dominant ever since that took place. Now, also, this is the same guy that last year, for the first time since they've been recording it since '04, he was the strokes gained leader off the tee and on approach in the same season. This is a dominant golfer right now. He's maybe not the mentally dominant, like scares everybody because he's such a nice guy like Tiger. He's not mentally just destroying people like Tiger used to, but people look at Scotty and it's like, how can I be like that guy?
Ha-
And
has he won the Masters before, or would this be his
yes,
first victory? Okay,
Yeah,
he won in 22.
22.
okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
Yeah, and I'll ask this to you guys, this question here, because this could be, it could be answered two different ways here. Scotty Scheffler, his wife did not make the tournament because they are expecting their first child. Does that become a distraction mentally, or does that become a motivation for him to win this tournament?
I would
David?
say I would say it would become a motivation because think of the story that he'll be able. Are they having a girl or a boy?
I couldn't tell
I
you.
think that's been kept private.
Okay, well, think of the story that Scotty, could tell his son or his daughter, like, "Hey, sweetheart, you're not going to believe what happened. I accomplished something amazing by the time you came into this world."
It was reported today, and it was confirmed today by Scotty on air that if she goes into labor, he's leaving the tournament. It doesn't matter where he's at.
Well, I mean, who's going to
So
blame him?
that is a guy
Obviously,
with priorities, and I'm here for it.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. It's their first child. It doesn't even matter if it's their third child. That is something very special that cannot be matched just by a game of
Mhm.
golf.
Yeah.
So,
And
I
also,
think that
like, if I made it seem like he should still be at the tournament when his wife's in labor, that was not my intention
no.
whatsoever.
No, no,
No,
not at all, not at
no.
all. No,
Okay,
no,
cool.
no. It just I wanted to ask that question because I'm sure people are wondering that question. Is it gonna be a distraction, mentally being on his mind? I mean, she's not due for a little bit, but she didn't make the trip because that is a lot of stress on a body.
Yeah, of course.
But one of the other questions going into this weekend is who is going to be on the bag for Justin Thomas, and it has been confirmed who's going to be on the bag. When I say that is Justin Thomas has a split with his longtime caddy Jim Bones McKay, who was the longtime caddy for Phil Mickelson as well before that, and it's tough because you have such a great relationship with your caddy. It's your best friend. It's someone who knows you best, and to split with someone, especially before one of the biggest tournaments there is out there, it is kind of tough to recover from that. But he has brought in Matt Minster who was formerly with Patrick Cantley. I think it's a great pickup, honestly, for from a caddy standpoint.
So, and keep in mind that I'm asking this question as someone who is really not that well immersed into golf, so just bear that in mind. But like, what is the point of having a caddy? Is it essentially like a head coach for the golfer, Ed?
It what he does is he's already scouted the entire grounds for the golfer,
Okay,
and also he is able to consult with the actual player on strategies of should you lay up, should you go for it, should you move, are you going for 120 yards uh, with your gap wedge, or are you going for 140 yards with your 9 iron? It's strategizing. It's somebody to bounce ideas off of. It's somebody to work with and be a partnership with on the course to make sure that the best decisions are being made for the best round possible.
okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, they are your right-hand guy. They are the voice in your ear, telling you the things that you need to know, such as, the slope and pitch of this green. They study it, the whole location, because it does change each day. But they know you best. I mean, I don't know if you saw the viral video, actually, it was like a month ago, Scotty Scheffler literally sitting there telling you how far he was gonna be hitting it each time, and he was either spot on or about a yard or two difference. He knew how he was going to be hitting, but your caddy knows that about you. They know your power. They know how far you could hit on with each club. And so it's going to be an adjustment period because Matt Minster is going to have to, really study Justin Thomas's game to really acclimate to that as a caddy. So it is big because yes, a golfer knows for the most part everything that they're doing. It's just having that extra set of eyes that helps you out even more.
And to even bring it a little uh, more full circle for those that aren't immersed in that world, imagine the caddy being the interpreter for the player, because he's also collecting side bets.
Yep. Yes. Legally.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, on the course, on the
Yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah. He's not like Otani's interpreter. It's illegal, I swear. But predictions. I'm interested to hear your guys' predictions on the outcome of this Masters. I mean, we'll just go easy here. Let prediction on who's going to win the green jacket this year.
David, any guesses?
um, I'm a nonconformist, so I'm gonna pick the guy that nobody else is picking. I'm gonna go with Chris Kirk. Never heard of him, but he seems to be doing well based on what I've seen. So
Ed?
I've got a bit of a outside the box thought here. There's a golfer that's on the tour that I really like that is not one that a lot of people talk about, but he is just so consistent and knows every type of course, how it plays, because he charts every course and how it plays and every shot, how it plays. And that's Matt Fitzpatrick.
I knew you were going to
It,
say Matt. I knew you were going to.
oh, yeah. I don't know why. I just love the guy. He's great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Matt Fitzpatrick's a great pick. My pick actually is very similar to everything that you just explained there. A guy who is consistent, but when this guy is on, he is very streaky. And something's telling me that he's gonna go home with the green jacket this year, and that is Victor Hovland. He's
Oh,
come close before, and I just really could see this guy winning it. I think going into the Masters, sometimes it's not always the best number one golfer in the world that's going to do it. I mean, we've seen Hideki Matsuyama. It could just catch you off guard. But speaking of off guard, though, wild cards. I know we just had predictions, but a wild card, a sleeper. Do any of you guys have one? I mean, I'll start. I'll start with mine here. And this is going to sound familiar because it was recent. But Denny McCarthy, he had just stormed into the final round this last week, um, and tied for the lead on the last hole, forced a playoff. Did end up losing, but Denny McCarthy is probably the best putter on the tour. And making your putts is when it really matters. And I really trust this guy with his putting game. And so Danny McCarthy is a sleeper pick for me.
David?
I don't know. Will Zalatoris maybe. I mean, you got to understand who you're talking to here.
You
So
should have
No worries.
just said Vasilevsky or come on. You should have done something like that. Would have been funny.
or Ovechkin, like all
Yeah.
the times that the Caps got bounced in the second round.
Yeah.
For all the talk surrounding him and the fact that he hasn't won a jacket yet, why not Rory McIlroy? everybody's dogging on him. He's listed as one of the favorites, but I don't know if anybody really believes that he's supposed to win this week
Yeah.
because he hasn't. It's
Yeah.
been one of those, I'll play good in one round, but I will completely tank another round and just take myself completely out of contention.
Yeah.
So Rory, I'm hoping that he does well, and to me that seems a little out of the box because everybody has been on the Scheffler train, the Wyndham Clark, the Xander Schauffels, and it's been just those everybody but Rory because we want to see everybody but Rory. I mean, whether it be from the Live Tour, Kepka, Mickelson, Rom get the back to back. Why not Rory at this point?
Well, speaking of Rory, because Rory made some he made it he made his feelings about these certain type of golfers very very well known, right? But we know that LIV golfers are now in the Masters. Um, do you guys think this is just one step closer to bringing harmony between LIV golfers and people who are not LIV golfers? If that makes any sense.
At this point, they're supposed to be paired up, but the time is running short on getting the deal actually done to merge the two entities. So at this point, it's still kind of a adversarial. They don't want to be playing on the same tournament, but the Masters is not really affiliated with the PGA Tour. It's a separate entity unto itself.
Okay.
So that is what allows the live golfers to come play in this tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're starting to see a lot of people change their mind on it. I mean, Rory was such a big he was so against it and everything. And it's not like he's going to switch over to live, but he's been more open-minded a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about it because I mean, you've seen a lot of big stars go over there, including John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau. There is a
Dustin
lot of
Johnson.
yes. I mean, there's some big names there and there's a reason for it. But really quick, back to the PGA Tour itself. This isn't going to include Live. I'm just going to go over the top 3 earners so far this year and their record right now, essentially with those earnings. Of course, number 1 golfer in the world, Scotty Scheffler, so far this year has brought in earnings close to 11.5 million. So if you're interested on how much golfers can make, that right there is 2 wins, 7 top 10 finishes, 8 top 25 finishes. So, and that's a total of 8 events. So, I mean, he's bringing in some good money. That does not include endorsements, anything like that. That is strictly earnings purse wise from the tournaments. And coming at number 2 is Wyndham Clark. Go Ducks, by the way. He has brought in close to
Oh
8
yes, the
million.
guy I picked to win the what was the Phoenix
Yeah.
Invitational.
Yep. So
How did he do? How did he do? By the way, I know he didn't win, but
I couldn't
did he
tell
like?
you off the top of my head, but he does have 1 win though, I will say that. 3 top 10s and 3 top 25s, also 8 events, and then coming in at number 3, Hideki Matsuyama, with close to 6 million in earnings with 1 win, 3 top 10s, and 6 top 25s, but he has played a total of 9 events, so 1 more event than the others.
The interesting thing about the Matsuyama win is the fact that that was at the Genesis Invitational, which is going to be a best of the best tournament. And that's what this is this week, being the Masters.
Yeah.
So he's already won this year in that kind of environment. So I'm really interested to see how well he does.
Yes. Yes, and he's already won a Masters in general, so he's got that experience of winning a green jacket. But speaking of the green jacket, there is a tradition that happens every year, and that is the Champions Dinner, where the former champion, last year's champion, hosts the dinner. They create the menu, they foot the whole bill. This is a tradition, and John Rahm being last year's winner was in charge of the menu this year and bringing his Spaniard roots. He had quite the menu there. Can't pronounce any single item on there. I'm pretty sure ensenada was on there, if that's how you pronounce it. But he brought a lot of his culture, his heritage to the menu, which is really cool. But I gotta ask, I mean, Ed, what would you serve?
Well, being from Texas and being a Texas guy, I very much like the meal that Scotty Scheffler served last year. We're talking brisket, we're talking sausage, we're talking everything barbecue that you can find. Everywhere from breakfast tacos all the way down to every kind of slab of meat that you can put on a smoker. You know, that whole thing, every side that goes on a cookout, all of that, and then finish it up with some key lime pie.
Shoot, Hideki Matsuyama did a Wagyu beef. I mean, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
pretty awesome too, and being from Japan and all. I mean, Kobe Wagyu, some of the top meat there is in the world. But for me, I picture me serving a dinner similar to a Ricky Bobby. You know, you got some KFC. This is all American, baby. Some Domino's pizza. I'm kidding, but actually, for me, in all seriousness, I'm a big meat guy, so I'd probably be right up the same alley as Ed. Anything steak, anything smoked. That's probably what I'd serve.
Dear Lord, baby Jesus.
Yeah, dear 6 pound 9 ounce baby Jesus. But that was the first thing that came to mind is that Ricky Bobby dinner table with the Mountain Dew, Coke, Domino's Pizza, KFC, Taco Bell. That's all American, baby.
David, do
So
you have an
yeah,
idea?
Yeah, I feel like what I would serve is a little bit fancier than you guys. You know, one of my favorite meals to cook is salmon. You know, especially like lemon salmon, like salmon where you put le- lemon pepper seasoning and little drops of natural lemon juice. So freaking good all the time. So I would probably serve something like that, and then for dessert, quote unquote dessert, give them rum and give them cigars.
there
Listen,
you
man,
go.
I live in a pirate state, and just I think anybody who knows me knows how much I love rum. It's my favorite spirit, hands down, and I just want to share the wealth, share the treasure with everybody else.
Yeah. See, me, I'm petty, so I would serve whatever food was probably going to guarantee they'd be on the toilet that weekend. I'm not taking a bite, I'm serving it, but whatever's gonna give me the best chance this weekend.
Mhm.
So the Taco Bell. That's
Exactly, I mean, yo quiero Taco Bell, baby.
Yeah,
Um, but as I talked about earlier, we are just wrapping up the NBA regular season. Uh, we have pretty much almost all the playoff teams, it's just more a matter of seeding. This is as of Tuesday, the seedings here, so things could change as you've watched this video. We're going to start things out in the West with the number one seed being the Timberwolves, number two seed being the Nuggets, three seed being the Thunder, Clippers at the four seed, the five seed we've got the Mavericks, then the Pelicans, Suns, Kings, Lakers, and Warriors. And yes, every time I say that Warriors team, it just haunts me because at the end of the day, they are the Warriors. If you did not watch them last night make 26 threes, you're like, crap, they are back to their form. We already know how the playoffs could be like if they continue to play like that. And over on the East side, we've got Celtics at the number one seed. They are you're going to have the best record in the NBA, followed by the number two Bucks. Three seed, we've got the Knicks. Four seed, the Magic. There you go, David. Five seed, we've got the
correction. The Magic are actually the fifth seed now because they just lost to the Bucks.
okay. Sorry, the Cavs, the four seed.
Yeah, the Cavs are the fourth seed, and the
Okay.
Magic are the fifth
So
seed.
either way, they'd still play each other
Right.
if
Yeah.
it ended today. And then we've got the sixth seed. We've got the Pacers. Seventh, we've got the Sixers. Eight, we've got the Heat, and nine Bulls, and the 10th seed, the Hawks. We do have the play-in tournament that also is a big factor onto who is going to advance. But guys, I want to talk about a specific team here really quick. Just really quick here is the New York Knicks. I just did not realize that they were the Villanova Wildcats as an NBA team. I really did not realize this. Seeing
Yeah.
Josh Hart there, you have, Brunson and, who's the 3rd guy? I'm drawing a blank right
Does
now.
DiVincenzo butcher
DiVincenzo,
that
yep.
name?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I wanna say they have 4 guys from Villanova on their team, and I'm just like, "Wow, okay, Jay
Mhm,
Wright, you did something good there, bud." You got a team that is the 3 seed in the East, and the Knicks look like they're for real to play.
mhm,
Don't tell Spike Lee that, but,
yeah.
they do look like a pretty legit team, a fun team to watch, but, the Suns and 76ers are right there on the cups of the play-in tournament. As of now, they are in there. Is there any way they could play their way out of that? Because you have the Suns that would have to then overtake the Pelicans, and then you have the Sixers who would have to overtake the Pacers. And guys, the Pelicans, I would not want to play them in the play-in
Mhm.
tournament. The Pelicans are a very talented team and a healthy team too.
Well, I think when I look at which team has the best chance at getting themselves out of the play-in tournament, to get a higher seed, I think it has to be the 76ers because they've been on a roll ever since getting Embiid back, and they have an easier schedule the rest of the way than the Suns do.
Yeah.
I would completely agree with that. Yes, the Pelicans are going to be tough to deal with because Zion is really balling out right now, but it's it's got to be the 76ers getting out of the play-in tournament at this point.
Yeah, and for those of you who are not familiar with the play-in tournament, I'm just going to give you the example of the seedings right now. You have the Lakers as a 9 seed versus the 10 seed Warriors. The winner of that game will advance to another bracket who would be the loser between the 7th seed Suns and the 8th seed Kings. So whoever loses that game would then play the winner of the Lakers and Warriors. Whoever wins that game will be the final 9 seed, and then whoever wins between the Suns and the Kings would automatically advance to then play the number 2 seed Nuggets if the standings or the seedings stand where they're at now. So that is something the NBA had just brought in over the last couple years to kind of add a little bit more and more chances for teams. We saw last year with the Miami Heat, they took that chance, they ran with it all the way to the finals. They did not win the finals, but they did go there. But anything could happen. But I want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. We just saw Giannis go down with a calf injury, and this is right before the playoffs start. Yes, they have Damian Lillard there, and it could be just like a Portland Trailblazers game where he could maybe get him past the first round. But Giannis is their guy. This is really going to affect the Bucks, in my opinion, even though they do have Damian Lillard. I mean, would you guys agree with that?
Definitely going to affect them. If you take a look at Giannis's, fragility, if you will, over this past season, he's been pulled from games several times over the past couple of months. And here he gets a calf strain right before the playoffs begin. This really kind of reeks to me of that year that Kevin Durant was told that he could play through injury if he could hack it because there was no additional damage that could happen to him.
Yeah.
But he was like, I don't know. Do I play? Do I not play? And he was basically bullied by the fans to play. Otherwise, he would be considered a soft basketball player. And what does he do? First thing, snaps his Achilles, done.
Done. Yep.
Loses an entire year of his career because he listened to that. And with as many times as Giannis he's had the Achilles sprain, he's had the calf strain now, he's had hamstring issues all on the same leg. This is something that I definitely see becoming an issue for the Bucks because as we talked about just a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how the Bucks have been somewhat average over the past couple of months, and when you hit the playoffs, it isn't going to turn on like a faucet. They've got to have Giannis at full strength for them to have the run that they're hoping to have.
Yeah, I mean, you're the Bucks. You're stumbling into the playoffs, right? And now your best player by far is hurt. And to make things worse, you have a massive choke artist coach in Doc Rivers. So, Bucks fans, good luck to y'all. But Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen are not walking onto that court.
Well, and not to, pour
Anything is possible.
yeah,
Anything is possible.
not to pour salt on the wound even further, but right now it's slated the Bucks are going to have to possibly face in the first round the 76ers, who now have Joel Embiid back.
Mhm.
So you're missing your top guy, your 5 at with Giannis, but they've got their top guy, their top big man in um Joel Embiid. That's already bad. And or you have to play the Heat with Bam Adebayo down there.
Mhm.
So it's like that is a big miss to
And
not
and can
have
we
him.
and can we also talk about how the Bucks fired a guy who was 30-13 and they replaced him with this choke artist fraud. Now, supposedly they fired Adrian Griffin because he didn't get along with Giannis, and I think as we all know, the NBA is still a star-driven league, okay? I understand that, but if you're going to fire a guy who again was 30-13, you replace him with an obviously better option, okay? You don't replace him with
This.
Doc Rivers.
Yes, with this, that's what they replaced him with, is with this. And now that Giannis is down, they don't have a coach that's really going to get them out of this. That's my opinion. That's David's
Yeah.
opinion, most likely Ed's opinion as well. So the Bucks are really going to have to go back to the drawing board here and really figure out how they're going to go from here, because the last thing you want to do is hurt Giannis more. But you're the 2 seed, you want to win a championship. So what are you going to do? So they're going to have to really figure that out going into this playoffs. But it is an unfortunate situation to see your star player go down right before the playoffs.
Yeah, this isn't hockey. You can't replace your head coach in the middle of the season every year and then wind up in the playoffs and make a deep run.
Yeah.
True. That is true. And we will talk more about that too, because hockey as well is winding down and it's getting tight. It is getting very tight. So, but that is about all we have though today. Folks, if you go ahead and hit that like, subscribe button, share this video, and also drop in your prediction on the Masters. Who is going to win it all? And who is your sleeper pick? You have heard ours. We want to hear yours. So please drop in there your prediction. I'd love to hear it. And you never know, you could be right. If you are on Twitter and if you are not following Ed on there, please follow him. He is Texas Ed on Twitter. He has shared a link to join his fantasy league for the Masters tournament only, and it's fun. If you've played any fantasy sports before, you'll love this. So go ahead and follow that and see if you could sign up. But till next time, guys, we are rounding third and we are headed for home.